Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd just finished detailing the car when she came home with that look. The one that never meant anything good. She dropped her keys on the counter, took a deep breath like she was about to walk into a job interview, and said, "We need to talk." Not the first time I'd heard those words, but something in the way she avoided my eyes made my stomach tense before she even said another syllable. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table and folded her hands like she was in prayer or court. Then she said it. "I want to try a 30-day separation." My brain paused, not because I didn't understand her, but because I understood exactly what she meant, and I was trying to figure out how to stay calm while everything inside me felt like it was suddenly underwater. She kept going, her voice carefully measured. "I'm not saying it's over. I'm saying I need space. Time. I don't know who I am anymore. I need to step back and see things clearly." I looked at her for a few seconds, trying to decide if I should laugh, scream, or just sit there until the silence answered for me. I asked the obvious question. "Are you seeing someone?" She flinched, then shook her head. "No, this isn't about that. It's about me. About us." It sounded rehearsed, like something she'd read online or picked up from a friend who'd already gone down this road. "You're not asking for a break," I said slowly, making sure my voice didn't shake. "You're asking for a trial run at being single." She didn't deny it. Instead, she stood up, walked to the cabinet, and pulled down a glass. Poured herself water. Didn't offer me any. Then she turned and said, "It's just 30 days. If we come back together after that, we'll know it's for the right reasons." There was a part of me that wanted to say something poetic, persuasive, that would make her pause. But I saw it in her face. She had already packed this speech with care. The decision wasn't being made in real time. This was old news to her. I was just catching up. "How long have you been planning this?" I asked. She hesitated. "A couple weeks." She left that night with one suitcase and a duffel bag. No tears. Just a promise to stay in touch and check in. I watched her drive off like a guest checking out of a hotel. Not a wife, not a partner. Just someone heading off to some solo retreat from reality. I spent that first night sitting in silence, trying not to call anyone, not to overthink the sound of her absence in every room. I didn't drink, because something inside me refused to collapse under her terms. The next morning, I woke up early. Made coffee for one. The house was still. Her toothbrush was gone. Her side of the closet half empty. She'd even taken her favorite throw from the couch, like it was a divorce item in disguise. I went to work. I smiled at people who asked how I was doing. I told them I was fine. I even started a new project that had been sitting in the backlog for months. But under all of that, my mind kept playing back her face when she told me she needed space. Like I was the thing suffocating her. That night, I walked into our bedroom and opened her nightstand drawer. I found a small notebook inside, one she'd used for affirmations and little goal lists. On the last page, dated just 3 days earlier, she'd written, "Start becoming who I used to be. Independent. Desired. Alive." Desired? I closed the notebook and put it back. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and let the truth settle in. She wasn't just looking for time alone. She was chasing something, attention, maybe even someone else. She wanted to remember who she was before she became my wife. But what she didn't realize was that I was remembering who I was before I became her husband too. She wanted 30 days? Fine. But I wasn't just going to survive the next 30 days. I was going to make sure that when she looked back, she'd realize the real loss wasn't her freedom. And somewhere, deep inside, I already knew. I wouldn't need 30 days. I'd only need 30 seconds to make her understand exactly what she'd thrown away. The first few days passed like a blur of silence. No messages. No calls. I checked my phone more often than I wanted to admit, but not because I missed her. I was watching for cracks in the narrative she fed me. That this was about reflection and personal growth. What I got instead were breadcrumbs. It started with a tagged photo on Instagram. One of her old college friends had posted a picture from a rooftop bar. 4 women, cocktails, wide smiles, and tucked in the corner of the frame, my wife. Like someone who hadn't just left her husband under the pretense of soul searching. She looked carefree, and that might have been fine, if not for the hand. Barely visible. A man's hand on her waist. Half out of frame. I stared at that photo for a long time. Not even hurt. Just calculating. We all have instincts. That quiet voice that taps you on the shoulder and says, "Look again." I listened. I clicked into the friend's profile. Public, thankfully. scrolled through her stories, then paused. A video, panoramic shot of the bar. Laughter in the background. The camera panned over the group again, and this time, I saw him. The man with the hand. He was close to her. Too close. Whispering something in her ear. She tilted her head back, laughing in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. I knew that laugh. It wasn't the sound of self-discovery. It was the sound of flirtation. The next clue came from a mutual acquaintance. Cassie, someone from her yoga group who I'd spoken to maybe twice, but who had always been more cordial to me than necessary. She messaged me out of the blue. "Hey, I know it's not my business, but I thought you should see this." Attached was a screenshot of a dating app profile. My wife. Different name, middle name used as a first. But the photo? No mistaking it. It was one of the professional headshots I'd paid for during our last vacation together. I opened the app and made a dummy account. Searched the area she'd moved to. There she was. Bio said, recently separated. Exploring life again. Not looking for anything serious, just connection. The irony was suffocating. Not looking for anything serious? After telling me she needed 30 days to reevaluate our serious, committed marriage? The pieces clicked into place faster than I expected. She wasn't rediscovering herself. She was auditioning replacements. I didn't respond to Cassie. I just sat in my car, parked outside a small diner I used to love, and stared out the windshield as the rain started to fall. She had used space as a euphemism for betrayal. And the worst part? She was still planning to come back at the end of those 30 days, to waltz through the front door, reset the narrative, and resume her life like nothing had happened. But I wasn't the man she'd left behind anymore. I stopped wearing my wedding ring that night. A week later, she sent a casual text. "Hope you're doing okay. This break is harder than I thought." Just a vague message designed to keep the emotional leash intact. I didn't respond. A day passed. Then two. She texted again. "Let me know if you want to talk. I miss you sometimes." Sometimes. The way she qualified it, like missing me was a part-time gig, an occasional whim, a song she used to love but only plays when no one's around. I didn't delete the messages. I let them sit there like artifacts. Then something interesting happened. She started texting more often. Subtle check-ins. Emojis. A photo of the cat curled up on a blanket. Nostalgia as a weapon. That's when I knew she felt it. The silence. The distance I'd created without saying a word. And suddenly, the 30 days didn't feel like her timeline anymore. They felt like mine. I wasn't waiting to see if she came back. I was watching how she unraveled. I began journaling everything. Every thought. Every moment of evolution inside me. Not to wallow, but to remember. Because clarity fades when emotions flare back up. And I wasn't going to forget who she revealed herself to be when she thought I wouldn't notice. She wanted time to explore what she was missing? Fine. I'd give her the room to discover that what she was actually missing was someone who would have done anything to protect her peace, even at the cost of his own. And when the time came, I'd remind her. Not with rage, but with precision. By the time week 3 rolled around, I'd stopped keeping track of how many days were left. Her calendar was no longer mine to honor. I wasn't circling dates or bracing for emotional impact. I had started to enjoy the quiet. The stillness gave me room to think, to rebuild without her shadow trailing me. The house didn't echo anymore. It resonated. With the absence of a woman who used to fill every room with demands disguised as needs, silence manipulated into tension, and smiles that were rehearsed more than genuine. I began every morning with a run. At first, it was about releasing tension, burning off the restless energy. But after a few days, I started noticing the reflection in store windows as I passed. My posture changed. My pace sharpened. The man looking back wasn't slumped over by disappointment. I went back to the gym. Nothing performative, no revenge body theatrics. Just discipline. It felt good to have a schedule that revolved around my goals again. The weights didn't lie to me. The mirror didn't dodge questions. I decluttered the house next. Her things were still around. Little artifacts of a shared past. Books she never read. Scented candles that gave me headaches. Decorative pillows that served no purpose except to be moved every night before bed. I boxed them up, labeled them clearly, and stacked them in the garage. It wasn't about erasure. It was about space. My space. Then came the wardrobe. For years I'd let my style fade into function. Neutral colors, old jackets, shoes that were more about comfort than statement. She didn't want a man who turned heads. She wanted one who blended into the backdrop of her curated life. I changed that. A new suit, sharp lines, dark blue. A haircut that actually had shape, not just routine. Small things. But they added up. Suddenly, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see someone waiting for a verdict. I saw a man writing his own outcome. The transformation wasn't just physical. It bled into everything. I reconnected with people she never liked. Old friends. Coworkers I'd distanced myself from because she called them immature or draining. Turns out, they were the ones who remembered me before I bent myself into shapes that made her feel comfortable. We went out. Drinks. A few dinners. A rooftop event downtown. That was the first night someone asked if I was single. I paused longer than necessary before answering. Yes, I said. I am. They didn't feel foreign. They felt earned. I started noticing the shift in her text around that time, too. The tone changed. Less casual. More probing. You've been quiet. Are you okay? Just wondering if you're free to talk this weekend. Ran into someone who reminded me of us. I didn't answer any of them. Not to be cruel. To be consistent. She'd asked for distance. I was honoring that request better than she ever intended me to. Then, the turning point. A photo sent from her phone, unprompted. A shot of us at some vineyard we'd visited during a long weekend getaway 2 years back. She captioned it, "We looked happy here." We looked happy. The language of revision. The kind people use when they're no longer sure what was real and what was manufactured for the camera. That same night, I opened my laptop and revisited the journal I'd been keeping. Not for nostalgia, just to check my own clarity. I reread the entry from the day she left. My tone back then had been one of restraint. Not desperation, but definite restraint. A man still open to possibility. Everything she thought would be there when she returned. My loyalty, my softness, my patience was already gone. Replaced by something quieter. A new kind of presence that didn't beg for connection. It commanded distance. It was around this time I received a call from Cassie again. Just a heads up. She's been asking about you, she said, a little cautiously. She said you haven't been responding. I think she's worried, or maybe just surprised. Surprised about what? That you're okay without her. I didn't reply. What was there to say? Of course she was surprised. Women like her don't prepare for the man they leave behind to get stronger in their absence. They expect to return to a version of him that's still waiting. Eyes dull, hope intact, spine bent. But the man she left behind was a draft. I wasn't living in bitterness. Every decision, every rep at the gym, every laugh shared with people she never approved of, it all layered onto a new version of me. One that didn't need to be chosen, validated. And deep down, I knew this version couldn't be reached by conversation or apology. She'd feel it. The moment we met again, if that day ever came, she would see it. She would talk. Smile nervously. Maybe reach for nostalgia, offer up memories like currency. But I wouldn't have to say much. 30 seconds. That's all it would take. And she'd realize she didn't just lose her husband. She lost access to the life that man built. Day 29 came with rain. The kind that clung to windows without drama. A steady rhythm, soft and indifferent. I didn't mark it on any calendar. There was no countdown in my head. But I knew. The same way your body remembers anniversaries before your mind does. A quiet awareness that something had shifted in the air. Her message arrived in the morning. Hey, would you be open to meeting tomorrow? I think we should talk. In person. No punctuation at the end. Just open-ended enough to let her hide if she needed to pretend it was casual. I read it once, then once more, not because I was surprised, but because I was expecting it. Her timing was calculated. Just like everything else about this trial separation. I waited a few hours before replying. Sure. You pick the place. She responded within minutes. Blue Leaf Cafe? Around 6. That cafe used to be one of our weekend spots. Artisan tea, reclaimed wood, too many plants. Her kind of aesthetic. She wanted to control the environment, maybe soften the edges of what she thought would be a delicate conversation. I agreed. Simple reply. See you then. The next 24 hours didn't come with anxiety. Just anticipation. Because I was curious. Curious how she'd carry herself. What version of me she was expecting to greet. Either way, I knew the outcome wouldn't depend on her delivery. It would depend on my silence. I arrived early. Corner seat, back to the wall. Coffee black, half full. No distractions. No phone scrolling. Just stillness. She walked in at 6:07, wearing a jacket I remembered. The one she used to save for evenings out. That detail alone told me everything I needed. She'd prepared for this. She didn't come to talk. She came to persuade. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. but her smile flickered, just briefly. A reaction she probably didn't realize she was having. I stood, shook her hand instead of hugging her, and gestured to the seat across from me. She sat down slowly, took a breath, and then let it out in the form of a small laugh. Nervous, not joyful, just trying to control the space. "You look good," she said. I nodded. "Thank you." There was a pause. She waited for me to return the compliment. I didn't. She fiddled with her sleeve, cleared her throat. "So, how have you been?" "Solid." Another short answer. No invitation to pry. She studied me for a moment, eyes narrowing slightly, like she was recalibrating. "I wasn't sure if you'd say yes," she admitted. "You've been quiet." "Giving you space," I said. Her lips tightened. In discomfort. Because she could tell the space she'd asked for had turned into a wall she hadn't expected to be built so fast, or so high. "I guess I just thought, I don't know, that we could talk through some things. Maybe figure out what the next step looks like." She leaned in, her tone softening. "Look, I know this wasn't easy. For either of us. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I felt like I was losing myself." That word again. Myself. As if the life we built together had swallowed her identity. "I understand," I said simply. Another pause. Longer this time. "I think we got lost," she offered. "In the routine, the expectations. I stopped recognizing us. But these past few weeks, they've been clarifying. I think I know what I want now." I took a sip of coffee. "And what's that?" She smiled. Not wide. Just enough to look hopeful. "I want to try again. I think this time, we can be different. Better. I've missed you." She said it like it was a gift. Like her longing was supposed to wrap around me and pull me back in. I looked at her for a long second. "I didn't miss you." The words landed like glass on tile. Clean break. Sharp sound. Her smile wavered. "I mean, I thought about you," I continued, "but not with ache. Not with longing. More like a lesson. One I won't forget." She blinked, her posture stiffening. "This month gave me something too," I said. But it wasn't clarity about us. It was clarity about me. About how much of myself I'd let disappear in this marriage, trying to keep someone beside me who didn't really want to stay. "That's not fair," she whispered. "You don't know what I wanted." "I do now," I replied. "I saw the photos. The profile. The version of yourself you were selling to strangers while I was sitting in silence, thinking maybe we still had a chance." She paled. Her mouth opened slightly, but no sound followed. "I wasn't angry when I found out," I added. I was relieved. Because it proved something I'd been afraid to admit. This wasn't a break. It was an exit. You just hadn't figured out how to close the door yet. "I didn't come here to argue," I said. "I came to give you the ending you didn't have the courage to write." She reached for my hand. I didn't pull away. I let her touch it, then slowly took my hand back. 30 days ago, I would have begged for this moment," I said. Her breath caught. "But now." I stood up, calm and resolved. "Now I just need 30 seconds. And we're done." I nodded once, turned, and walked out. I didn't rush. Didn't look back. Because I knew the silence I left behind would be louder than anything I could have said. And in that silence, she'd hear every second I spent becoming the man she never deserved. I walked out of that cafe into the fading daylight, the air still heavy with rain. Not the downpour kind. Just the steady drizzle that clings to your clothes without ever soaking through. The city was still pulsing around me. But inside, I felt something settle. The 30 seconds I'd given her had done their work. She didn't chase me out the door. She didn't send a desperate text. She just sat there. Which, in hindsight, was fitting. She'd spent so long trying to find herself, and now she'd finally been introduced to who she really was. Someone who gambled with loyalty and expected to win it back at a discount. I didn't drive straight home. I took the long way. Just let the city pass by like scenes from a movie I no longer wanted to be in. Every street, every familiar building felt a little different now. Not because they'd changed, but because I had. I wasn't the man who stood quietly beside someone who didn't respect his presence. There was a time I might have played out that cafe scene 100 different ways in my head, maybe imagined a shouting match, some dramatic walkout, or even a moment of weakness where I gave into her words. But none of those happened. Because the truth is, strength isn't in how loud you leave. It's in how little you need to say when someone already knows what they've done. That night, I opened the box I'd packed weeks ago, the one with her things. Her books, her scarves, that stupid framed quote she used to love about living your truth. I put it by the door, taped it shut, and messaged her with one line. "Your box is ready." Let me know when you want to pick it up. I won't be home. No reply. Not that day. Not the next. When she finally responded 3 days later, it was a single sentence. Do you really mean it? Some questions don't deserve replies. They answer themselves. Over the next week, the weight she'd left behind began to evaporate. I cleaned the house, not out of necessity, but as an act of claiming the space. It was mine again, and every drawer, every corner, felt like it had exhaled now that she wasn't in it. Word got around, as it always does. Friends texted. Some asked if I was okay. Others offered beers, advice, the typical emotional survival kits men share when another man's world collapses. But I wasn't collapsed or cracked. I was building something new, from the ground up. And the foundation was mine this time. Cassie checked in again, too. She's asking mutuals if you're seeing someone, she wrote. She seems unsettled. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't care. Because here's the thing about someone who treats love like an experiment. When they come back and see you've evolved into someone they no longer qualify for, it's not just a loss, it's a lesson. When they replay in their heads every time they look in the mirror and realize the person they're remembering isn't waiting anymore. I'd run into her once more, weeks later. Grocery store. Total accident. She was reaching for avocados. I was coming around the corner. We locked eyes. She smiled too quickly, like she'd been rehearsing for this moment in her head. Hey, she said, like we were still friendly exes, like we hadn't detonated something permanent between us. I nodded. Hey. Her eyes scanned me, how I was dressed, how I stood, the casual confidence that didn't need to announce itself. She looked for a crack and found none. Have you been? She asked, tentative. Solid, I said. Same word. Same tone as the cafe. I've been thinking about things, she said. I gave her a small smile. Not cruel. Just distant. That's good, I said. Thinking's a start. Then I walked away. Left her in that aisle holding an avocado like it was the last part of her script. She didn't follow. Didn't call after me. She knew. She had come back looking for something familiar. A man who would be grateful she even showed up. But I'd become someone else. Someone she couldn't reach with nostalgia or apologies. And maybe that's what hurt her most, not the ending itself, but the fact that I didn't leave room for a sequel. In the months that followed, my life didn't just return to normal, it surpassed what I thought normal could be. I slept better, laughed more, felt lighter in ways I hadn't realized were even possible. I took a solo trip, met new people, reconnected with a version of myself that had been buried under years of compromise and quiet resentment. And every now and then, I get a random message from her. A memory, a question, an update no one asked for. I never blocked her. I didn't need to. She was already gone, because I had built a life she no longer had access to. So when people ask me now what happened, why it ended, what changed, I just tell them the truth. She needed 30 days to see what she was missing. I only needed 30 seconds to show her what she lost.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.